Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at inserting objects into Google Slides. When you start in Google Slides, objects are a great way of sharing information with your audience. Some of the key ways of inserting objects can be found on the shortcut toolbar here, where we've got text, images, shapes and lines. But you can also insert using the insert drop down with some additional features that we'll look at today, also including tables, charts and diagrams and WordArt. So again, just starting very simply with a text box. If I click on the text box icon, I can then drag to the size that I want my text box to be. I can then begin to type and fill that in my text box. Now, if I want to adjust this text, I can adjust the font and the size we've got here. So I can either do that by selecting the text I want to change or selecting the box. I do that by selecting the blue line around the box. What you also notice around the blue line are these blue squares. These can resize the text box, but also you've got this circular shape at the top, and that allows me to rotate the object as well. And so this would be the same for other objects as well. So back to the formatting of the text. If I've got the box or the text selected, I can then choose the font I want. And with fonts, you have a number of fonts by default, but also you can click on more fonts to load more fonts into your repertoire. You can search those by the type of font you want, by scripts or by popularity. So I could ask for a display font. We've got some options here. I can then obviously change the size with the minus or plus button. If I click on the actual number itself, it gives me a drop down, or I can type in a specific number if I want it. Then we have our options for bolding, italics and underline, and the text color itself. If I want to add a highlight to the text, I can do that here. And this adds a box behind the text. But another form of adding text is what's called WordArt. If I click on the insert menu, I can see WordArt here. And again, I can just type in the text I want, hit enter, and then it adds the word art. I found one of the key benefits to WordArt is that you actually have a separate line around the text that you can colour rather than just the text colour itself. So again, if I want to change this, I can choose the font I want. But the difference here is I have both a fill colour and a line colour. So I can choose my fill colour and then my line colour. With the line colour as well, I can choose the border weight, so I can make that a lot thicker, and the type of line that it is as well. So if I wanted a dotted line, I could have something like that. With WordArt, you don't resize it by font size, but you can just resize the box to make your text bigger. Be careful when you're doing this, because you can make your text out of proportion or stretch it in the wrong way. So just be careful of moving that around. The best way to move it is when you are resizing, hold down your shift button and resize, and that keeps the ratio of the text. So now we're going to add a new slide. Let's make that blank, and I'm going to go on and show you about images. So again, we've got our drop down here to insert an image, or I can click insert image here. When I do so, I've got a number of options. One is that I can upload it directly from my computer. I can search the web, or I can insert from Drive, my photos, a URL or the camera. The good thing when searching from the web is that when we do a Google search, it will only bring up images that we have permission to use. So if I did a search for classroom, all the images that come up, I've got permission to use. So I can click on this and click insert. So this works the same way if I do insert, and again from my computer, from Drive, all these other options. I'll get a panel over here, and then I can insert a picture into my slide deck. And now we're going to look at shapes and lines. So again, we've got our shape icon here, or under the drop down, I can choose my shape. And there's a number of different shapes. So these are some of the basic shapes we've got here, but then we also have arrows, callouts, and equations. So once I choose my shape, I can then draw this. And again, similar to with the WordArt, we can do a fill colour. I can choose a line colour and the thickness of that line as well. With lines, I'm going to look at my different line options. I've got a straight line, an arrow, elbowed or curved connectors, curved line, a shape that I want to fill, and this is just a scribbling. So I'll just show you some of these quickly. If I click the line, we can see here, if I hold down the shift key, it keeps it at straight angles. So it's very helpful if you want to make sure it's straight. It's got my line there. And then if I want to change this, I can choose the line color and the weight. If I want to, when I've got this selected, I do get these options as well for line start and line end. So I could add something in here and here as well. So we've got some different options. You could make that into an arrow if you want, or you can use the arrow tool. Again, holding down shift, going to show you that there. So if you want to change the type of arrow it is, you can change that there. If I change the thickness of the line, the arrow will get bigger as well. Elbow connector is great if you want to connect different shapes together. So let me quickly just draw another shape here. So if I wanted to then use an elbow connector, I could then connect this shape to this one. So I just drag that there, and you can see it pins to these points on the shape. If I want to move this line, I can then actually drag that. So this is great for doing diagrams or organizational charts and things like that. And the same principle works with the curve connector. So I can click here and then add this in here. So it's just a different way of connecting your shapes together using lines. The actual curve tool, if I move this and I can draw a line, then once I've done this, I can actually click edit points. If I right click on my line, edit points, and I can actually move these points around as well, just to format that line. Next, we've got the polyline. So this is more if you want to create a shape that has a fill color. So I'm just going to create my randomized shape. And as you can see, that is then filled, which I can then add a color to as well. And lastly, we've got the scribble. So again, this is just an irregular shape, an irregular line that I'm just drawing. And we've got there. The difference, as you can see here, I can't edit the points, unlike this curve line. So these are different types of shapes and lines that you can add in your slides. Next, we're going to look at tables. So if I go to Insert, Table, I get an option here to choose the size of my table. There is a limit, 20 by 20, but I can, if I need to, add extra rows and columns afterwards. But if I select my size, I then get a very basic table. If I want to format this, I can select cells, and again, using the Fill tool, I can fill that in, and using the Font tool as well, I can adjust the font of my text. If I want to change the line, again, I can select this, and using the border color, I could change the lines of my table, even specific areas of that as well. And again, changing the thickness should I need to. So next we're going to look at charts. If I click on Insert again and go to Charts, this is where I can create a chart from scratch if I wanted to. So if I click Bar, it's going to insert the chart and connect it with a Google Sheets data sheet. So I can click Edit in Sheets, and then I can adjust the data if I want. If I already have a chart, so I'm just going to delete this, I can do Insert Chart and click From Sheets. So this will pick up all my sheets. If I click on the sheet I want, I can click Select and then find the chart that I want, click on that and import it into my document. In the top right hand corner you have a linked option, so if you want to keep this linked to the data you can do. And lastly we're going to look at diagrams. So if I click on Insert and go to Diagram, this brings up a number of preset templates that I can use in my Google Slides. So this is very helpful if you're not too good at your own formatting, and these are some very good templates you can use. So if I choose what I want, click the little arrow to expand, and it gives me some examples. I've got some options at the top. I can choose, actually I want to change the number of levels, I want to change the color, and then I can click on the template I want, and this will insert it into my document, and then I can use that diagram as a template. So I hope this tutorial has given you some great ideas about the variety of objects you can insert into your Google Slides to share information with your audience.